We're going to begin by doing the knit stitch in the Continental method. So our yarn is in our left hand, and we're going to scoop the yarn and knit across. So through, grab it, and across. And when we get to the end, we are going to knit back. Knitting backwards is an important skill to learn because it can be very helpful when you're working a small number of stitches back and forth, like on a strap for a bag or a narrow edging, or if you're doing an interlock project where you're doing a triangle and you're going back and forth and back and forth. So to knit backwards, you really need to think about the fact that we're in stocking X stitch, which means we actually don't want to knit back this direction, otherwise we'd end up in garter stitch. We actually want to purl back. So instead of turning our work like so, we're going to keep it flat like this. We're going to keep our yarn in our left hand, and we're going to put our needle through as if we're purling, because remember, we are trying to purl. So we're going to go through in this direction. You want to take your yarn and wrap it over the top so that it's laying on top of your back needle. Then you're going to lift your stitch up over the top like so. Then I use my middle finger on my left hand to kind of hold everything together. So wrap it around and keep this tight with this hand. Maintain your tension. I kind of hold on with my middle finger and then lift it over. So through, around, and lift over. Like so. For the English method, or the thrown method, we're going to have to move our yarn over to our right hand. And we are going to knit by throwing our yarn around. So we're going to go underneath and then in between the two needles. Hold it tight and pull it through, tuck it through. And because in the English method you throw the yarn around, you move your hand around, knitting backwards comes really naturally to those of you who are used to doing it this way. Because as you'll see, it's a very similar motion. So we're on our last stitch, and now we're going to come back this direction. Again, we keep the needles in the exact same positions. We keep our yarn in our hand in the exact same position. We're going to stick our needle through the same way as if to knit, or I'm sorry, as if to purl, like so. We're going to continue, we're going to do exactly the same thing, up and over the top, and then through, and off. So around the back and in between, and over and off. Around the top, and over and off. And again, this time I'm using more of my first finger to kind of hold on to the back of those two stitches right there so that I can slide it over the top and off. It's always amazing how many fingers you use to knit. Round the back, over the top, over and off. So if you practice these two methods, you will not only learn how to knit with both hands, which comes in handy for color work, but you can also knit forwards and backwards with either hand. And then you will truly be an accomplished knitter. Thank you for joining us. Give it a practice, and we'll see you next week for Technique Thursdays. Bye-bye!